Welcome back, everyone. This is Can't Escape from Crossing Hamsters. Here with something completely different. Now, all around us, we're starting to see this very noticeable trend of people that have this very peculiar detail on them. And it usually is this: they did not actually play the video game that they are criticizing, or they did not play the video game that they claim to just hate, right? So let's pretend for a moment, right, in this scenario, that there's a guy that played, I don't know, whatever fighting game, right? Now it's one thing for that guy to say, well, I played that fighting game a bunch with my friends, but I just don't like it as something I truly want to play and get good at. So he plays it for fun. So maybe he played it with his friends, he went home, maybe he even practiced a little bit, maybe he saw some pros playing, and maybe he saw some combos and combo videos to learn new combos. And even though he understands the mechanics of the game, he has played it with his friends, he has played it consistently, not necessarily for a long time, mind you, but he basically informed himself, right? This pretend person, he informed himself, and then he made the choice to say, hey, you know what? I understand the game, I know what it can offer, but it's just really not for me. I don't like it. And to that I say, fair enough. That's a good way to do things. That's how things should be done. It's another thing to never touch fighting games at all and still puke out misinformed opinions about pretty much everything. Because, this is the age of the internet, in which it's just a group of strangers online and nobody wants to compromise because nobody knows each other. And nobody wants to compromise and actually shut up and learn something. That's because human beings are inherently pieces of smarty pants wearing little shits, but that's for another video. So, some people just don't wanna, they just refuse to actually learn. But, in this particular video though, this is more of a recommendation video. So I'll be showing you footage from BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, also known as BB Tag for short. This is, again, a recommendation video for those of you that are maybe falling into despair because, as of right now at least, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice has been confirmed to not have any PvP mechanics or any PvP focus. Now, that may change later, but as of this video, there is no PvP for it, right? So I figured, why not share something different? So why not dip your Ouijas into the fighting game genre? Those of you out there. Because the thing is, Souls PvP players, they seem to be competitive, a lot of them. And they talk like competitive players. In fact, a lot of them use fighting game terms. But strangely enough, none of them play fighting games, or at least, most of them. Isn't it weird that they rant and rave about balance in Souls games PvP? The PvP that maybe involves 2 buttons, and depending on your build and weapon of choice, it may only involve just 1 button. But coincidentally, they don't touch the genre of games with actual competitive things built into it, which also happens to use more than 2 buttons for its gameplay. Look, passive aggressiveness aside, I'm totally kidding, by the way. I'm just fucking around. Really though, I'm sharing this because I legitimately believe that it's a great game to pick up if you want to start off somewhere with fighting games, and to try something that's multiplayer, that isn't just some popular or some meme game like Fortnite. Because fucking everyone is playing that, and I don't know. I don't find it charming. Yeah, I've tried it. I can see the fun in it, but I don't see the fun in it long term. But again, that's just me. I share this because there is a strange trend among the Souls community in which often you'll read comments and hear people say that they no longer enjoy other video games as much because the Souls games are just too good. So they find it hard to enjoy anything else. But, this video is for those of you that are not in that category, because obviously I can't convince someone of, such a deep feeling, that they don't want to play anything else. That's fine. That's their choice. I'm not here to impose my will on anyone. That's just people out there, okay? So for those of you that are not in that category, those of you that are probably looking for something more, this is for you to hear my suggestion, basically, and the reasons as to why I suggest this game. I'm not a pro fighting game player, and neither is my friend. Shoutouts to my friend. We had a bunch of good matches and whatever. So I'm not a pro, but I do understand fighting games, and I do follow the general fighting game scene. So my opinions are just that. They're opinions. But more importantly, they are informed opinions from someone that has actually played the video game. In this case, the fighting game. And really, that is the first rule. Play the video game. Don't be one of those guys that rants and raves about how they just don't want to play fighting games because they saw something they didn't like, or they read something they didn't like. Oftentimes, the common excuse is, you just pick a top tier and win. It's stupid. So you get these armchair fighting game experts that don't play and often have never even touched a fighting game. And that's, again, a very common thing among a lot of players all across the board. So that has spread in the video game community in general. I'm not talking about, the Souls community. This has been going for a long time in pretty much the entirety of the video game scene. So, to get the point across, basically, this is a great game for you to try out if you have little to no experience in fighting games. And I know a lot of people will be like, yo, this is an anime fighter. It's going to be very overwhelming for new players. And to that I say, not really. BB Tag is a very, I'm not going to say simplistic, but it's not an overly complicated game. There are a lot of mechanics to learn, and they are extremely overwhelming when you go into the tutorials and you try them out, and you're like, what the fuck is this? Like, how do I even remember half of this shit in the middle of a match? But when you, and listen to me carefully, when you actually play the fucking video game, when you sit down and you actually play it and you're playing against another player online, you actually get to, get a feel for the flow of combat. And you start to make sense of all of these mechanics, and you start to piece everything together, and it just blends in perfectly. And all of a sudden, something that was extremely overwhelming because you were going through it one by one in the tutorials, something that was extremely complicated suddenly becomes something that you just do out of habit. So all the footage you're seeing is like from the first 2-3 days of me playing this game, maybe. And I am not an anime fighter player. I primarily play Street Fighter. There is no real particular reason to that. It's not because I don't like anime fighters. In fact, I think anime fighters is one of the types of fighting games that I have tried the least because I just found myself playing more Street Fighter. There's no real deeper meaning to that. Like, it's not that I dislike it. I don't know. I put more time into Street Fighter, which is a shame because anime fighters are pretty freaking cool. This one in particular, I really enjoyed it. I had my doubts about it at first, but actually playing it, I can say that, it's very easy to get into on a more casual level. There's always going to be some crazy shit that you're going to see from some other player that absolutely destroys and pushes your shit in. But it's not to discourage you or anything. This happens in every fighting game, pretty much. So this is a team-based fighting game. So this is more like a Marvel versus Capcom sort of fighting game. And if you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, it's basically a team game. So you have a team against another team. So you have two characters that you can use, and they can fight as a team. So you can call in your assist to extend your combos, maybe to protect your approaching game. And, you know, it's just a very nice and very fast-paced game. So these fights can start very slow, and then all of a sudden, you're both just scrapping, and then both of you lose a character, and before you know it, you're having a one-on-one, and you don't know how the fuck you got there. So that's when you know that you're starting to understand the mechanics, when you and your opponent are kind of like going toe-to-toe, and neither of you wants to give up, and you're both just fighting your hardest, and you're bringing out all your tricks and all your strats. So there's a lot of things to learn and a lot of matchups to learn. So for those of you that are not locked into, you know, From Software PvP only, I highly recommend this game. If you've been on the fence about trying a fighting game, maybe, I recommend this one. This is a great one to start off with. You know, other people may think otherwise, but again, this is just my opinion. I think that even if you have never played a fighting game, this is a good one to start. There are plenty of tutorials inside the actual game. You don't have to go to YouTube. In the actual game to teach you the very basics that you are going to need and the basics that you will be using throughout pretty much all your matches. So this is a short video, just sort of like a recommendation. I will be making more videos of this game, so look forward to that. So with that, I leave you, and I hope that you try this game out. It's really awesome. Hakumen is the best waifu. So with that, I'll leave you to watch the rest of this fight, and thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one.
I'm not soft. If you raise your blade against me, I will not hold back.